Whoa, hi. I'm Paul Osborne, and I'm just putting the finishing touches on the video that you'll be watching in just a moment. Tell you a little bit about it. Back in the fall of 2006, three guys and myself became involved in a restoration preservation project of a rare 1966 Ford GT40 Mark II-A chassis 1032. Which was owned and is owned by the Indianapolis Motor Speedway Hall of Fame Museum, located in Indianapolis, Indiana. All this became possible through my good friend Bill Spurley, who's head of the restoration department there at the museum. Our core group consisted of 4 people originally, and we all had agreed to do the project for the museum on a volunteer basis. But later, as word got out of what we were doing, our volunteer numbers grew. We knew that since most of us were still working our regular jobs, that it was going to be an after-hours part-time project. But we had no idea that it was going to last and take us 4.5 years to complete. Well, since the 3 other original guys were highly skilled in their respective fields, I spent most of my time video documenting the project and then helping out in some of the lesser technical aspects on the car. Well, getting to the video itself, the first half of it consists of a very quick and condensed version of the restoration preservation of the car, with a longer, more detailed version to come later, I hope. The second half of the video is a photo shoot of the car for Motor Trend magazine down at Indy. So now, please join me in watching what I have dubbed the Spurley Project. And now, from the Indianapolis Motor Speedway's Hall of Fame Museum and head of the restoration department there, here's Bill Spurley.
The GT40 we have at the Indianapolis Motor Speedway Museum came from the Ford Motor Car Company. They donated it to us as is, unrestored. And about 6 years ago, 6 years ago, I checked it out and I noticed the plug and the GT40 had a big hole in it, and through different information I got from people from the Ford Motor Car Company, we have found out it was damaged in one of the races what he competed with. And so I closed it back up and tried to figure out where I can go find some parts for it, you know, to replace the broken engine. And talking with Mose Noland from the Ford Motor Car Company, he promised me he will help me to complete the engine, because as much as he could recollect about this GT40, where the Ford Motor Company entered in one of the races, he knew it was broken. And he also knew the whole complete engine, because on this project, when Ford Motor Company went racing, he was very much involved in get this project going. And through this, he said, Bill, I will help you, because I know where I can find enough parts to get this engine complete, and hope I can be able to get it complete enough so we can run it. Through this, through Paul Osborne, I found out there was some people who, from the Ford Motor Car Company, who was very interesting in to get this car in running condition again. And I talked them into through the year then, a few years ago, if they would be able to restore it for the Speedway Museum, since they had all the information on this car. And they promised me they are willing to do it, with the understanding they can maybe to use some of the knowledge from this car to for some other projects they had going. Through Paul Osborne, who notified me about those people from the Ford Motor Company, I decided to entrust those people with restoring this car in a professional manner. It's a volunteer job. We also pay for all the expenses what they accrued through acquiring some new parts. And also they get some of the plating done and some of the painting and all whatever is involved, you know, with outside help, you know, to get this done. They do not ask for payment of their labor. The people who have been involved at this project to restore the GT40 Ford was Jim Dunham, chief engineer, with Mose Noland, also a chief engineer, and Adam Christian, engineer for the Ford Motor Company, and Paul Osborne, a coordinator. We're looking forward in the future to have this car in the museum at the Indianapolis Motor Speedway for the public to see, and maybe someday we can drive it around the road course at the Speedway.
So in the fall of 2006, Jim Dunham and myself head down to the Speedway to pick the car up. And here's the car as the museum received it from Ford back in 1968. In 1966, the car ran at Sebring, with Mark Donohue and Wal Hanskin driving the car as number 3, and it finished a remarkable second place. Then later that same year, Mark Donohue and Paul Hawkins drove the car in the Le Mans 24-hour race. It ran as number 4. It started out good, but fell out early in the race, with mechanical problems. After which the car was painted like the winning car and went on the show tour to the Monza and the Paris Auto Show. There was only about 8 of these Mark IIAs built, and 5 of those were converted to B models, which makes this car a very rare car with its 427 cubic inch engine. The guys and myself want to restore the car back to the way it looked and ran in '66 at Le Mans. So Bill Spurley lets us into the building where they have moved the car from the museum for us to pick up. And then we head back to Michigan. And once back at the shop, after taking some measurements and weights, the teardown begins.
Chance and I still have mine. The bigger the pieces on the floor, it'll happen but with time. This year, gonna make a resolution, gotta make a contribution to you.
immediately starts working on the engine.
This year, gonna make a resolution, gotta make a contribution to you. This year, gonna take some kind of action, gotta have some sort of fraction of you.
After checking out the chassis, which is steel, the corrosion to it must be stopped to be preserved for years to come. So it is decided first to have the chassis sandblasted. Then Jim and I take the chassis down to Norwalk, Ohio to Mayflower to have the whole chassis E-coated. The chassis is dipped many times to be degreased and cleaned before the E-coat can be applied. E-coating of a metal material is when an unfinished product is immersed in a bath containing electrically charged paint, and then an electrical DC current is passed through both the product and the paint. The paint particles adhere to the metal surface, resulting in a perfect coating even in the recessed cavities of the parts, which in turn will prevent the part from corrosion in the future. Then once back at the shop, the work starts immediately on the chassis. Mose is working fast to complete the engine. As are all the other guys on the chassis for the build-up. Components on the car have either been cleaned, painted, replated, or rebuilt as needed, and most of them are ready to be assembled onto the chassis.
At least try to test install the shock here. I don't know if it's going to steam.
Mose has pretty much completed the engine now, and the guys are working on a run stand for the engine to test the engine and transmission with the radiator, the overflow pot, the transmission and trans oil cooler, and the dry sump tank, so the whole system can be completely checked. With that done, the parts come off and go onto the chassis.
Okay, we're all right. Yeah, all right. Okay, you
dragged the car back to pit lane. It was retired immediately, and then just a couple hours ago we had the number one car in the pit lane immediately.
And now the guy's attention shifts to the fiberglass components of the car, sanding, cleaning, and prepping in preparation to have these parts painted. And once this is done, Jim primes all the body panels in preparation to have the car painted. And then we load the car up and take it over to 203 Custom Paintwork to receive its special paint job. Then once at the shop, Scott and Paul immediately jump on the job.
What we got here is the Ford letters. We had a vinyl stencil made, and this is the negative, so I'll spray the white over it, and when we pull it off, you'll have the color showing through. Then, once back at the shop, a lot of work is still to be done. Wiring, interior, and final details are to be finished off.
You got 12 volts there, Jim?
And everyone pitched in for the final assembly.
Say, Paul, tell us what you're doing there.
Well, I'm painting the letters on the tires. Tires didn't come with a fire starter.
Well, the car now is complete, and we've been asked to show the car at the first Concours d'Elegance of America at the St. John's Inn, located in Plymouth, Michigan. And wouldn't you know it, the car received 2 awards.
Did you hear him, Jim?
Did you?
Congratulations on the restoration. I understand it was an all-volunteer team that did it.
Yes, it was. All volunteer team. Yep.
Well, you
Great
did it.
bunch of guys.
What a fantastic restoration, right? You know, true to the Le Mans livery and everything, right on the money.
Thank you very much.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
Then we lined up for a team photo with the car.
All right.
I had made arrangements with Ed Dalton from Classic Car Carriers to transport the car back down to the museum right after the show. Well then, about a year later, we were contacted by Todd Lassa. At the time, he was the Detroit editor of Motor Trend magazine, who contacted us and the museum about doing an article about this rare car. And after getting the okay from the museum, Todd set up a date and contacted Wesley Allison, noted still photographer from California, to do the shoot on the car. So on October 4th, 2012, Todd, Adam, Mose, Vince, and myself headed down to the Hall of Fame Museum. It's 6:30 in the morning, and we find the car in the basement of the museum. So then A.J. Fairbairn, who works in the restoration department and myself tow the car out to the track for the early morning photo shoot.
Good right now.
Yeah, I know. It's popping up the flame.
Yeah, no, it should be unlocked.
Okay. What do you think, Vince?
Oh, here. She looks as good as she did when we put her away.
Yeah, I'll say.
We have 2 coolers, one for the trans, one for the motor. There's 3 fuel pumps, but only one runs most of the time. And there's actually 2 fuel pickups, and what they did is they had 2 different length pickup tubes. So when it would start to sputter, they'd know to switch to the other pumps, and they had the longer tube. And it was getting to be time to come in.
Yeah, okay. Private.
Right.
And what do we need? We just need a Zeus to key, don't we?
Yeah, so that's one that nobody really ever gets to see is the bulge. And every bulge is different for each car, for each Mark II car. And this cross member is different.
You happen to know what the weight difference is between the two?
The car, as it sits, I think is 2,300 pounds. Isn't that about right? We put it on the scales. I think it's around.
I believe that's the number.
That's how it was. It was just goobered on there.
Yeah, that was the distributing sound from the guy that you gave the distributor 50 years ago, and does you still have that?
We can pull the spare out too.
Yeah, I'd be able to see that much easier if we pulled the tire out. Yeah, because now you can see the whole.
There's a a couple things here. So the dry sump's up front, right? Big bulge here with the sight window. And all the oil and water lines run through the center tunnel. Onto the dash, so not for, just for the driver. Not for, and in this car, they actually had a problem with humidity. You can tell
They go green.
Yeah.
That's why I came down there and we held it up before we started it. Then couldn't notice that it was set, so we held it up and it was fine.
Yeah, you're damned if you do, damned if you don't, right? You can't have it up because now you're blasting the cliff.
Yeah.
You put it
Well, that's
down.
why I came up.
Cable flew out. Got it?
The aluminum guys there got to go in the slots.
And of course, Bill Spurley was on hand.
AJ.
Beautiful. Good lot, Paul.
Yeah.
A little bit more.
Gotta come to the fronts too high. I've got to come.
Too bad.
Yeah. Yep.
Hi, how are you?
Good. Very good.
Nice seeing you.
You too.
We've got plenty of shots of the car, so if you want to.
Mose, what do you think?
So we know what it is.
It's gorgeous. I think it really looks nice here in a track atmosphere, doesn't it? I mean, it looks nice in the shop, but this is what makes it really real here.
Oh, you're going to have to get it.
And now AJ Fairbairn from the museum is going to take the car out for some runs around the track for the photographer, for Wesley, so he can get some good moving shots.
Get on the body right down the bottom.
That's right.
Okay, I'm going to get in there.
Bill, get in there quick. We're already half a lap down the road.
That's cool.
Well, you're going to have to practice on that, AJ.
This is not a race. Oh, there's the big boy in here. Can you see down the... Let me turn the master on.
Yep, master.
Main fuel.
Let's do your pump stop.
Pumps are
Are you in neutral?
I'll be neutral in a second. Yeah, just not going to rock that.
Now reverse, if you ever have to use it, you just go for it, man.
Yeah, you got to jam it
You
in.
can't be nimby-pimby around about
Okay. Now, when I pump the accelerator, is the fuel going in the carburetor?
it. Cubs or Mose watch.
Yeah, we got pump shots.
Okay.
Yeah.
We ready?
2 strong ones. Go ahead.
Yep.
Now, let's go around the track with AJ as Wesley and I take some pictures of the car in action.
How was it?
It was wonderful.
How were the temperatures? And
Temperature's great, about 150,
1 to 3.
and just smooth as a bird going down the road.
Great.
It even steers nice.
Hey, it's not every day I get to see you in a car.
That's good.
Hey, Hans. Beautiful. Hey, Hans.
Okay, Mose, you ready for a ride?
No, sir.
I'm ready.
Anybody else, but not me.
We can. Well, come on, we've got a blanket there.
Yeah.
I don't know about this, Hans.
You can always buy a new pair of pants.
I'm not worried about pants, I'm worried about scuffing paint.
Mose.
All right, I don't want to scuff paint, that's all. All right.
Oh, look at this.
It's over with.
Oh,
here we go.
You stay there.
Yeah, we'll see if we can get you out, right?
He's got to keep it under 200. I'm not gonna, I'll jump out of it.
Oh,
You've got a hell of a
the magnificent men in their flying machines.
Yeah, right. Oh, I never expected this, I'll tell you that.
Oh, hey, something new.
Something borrowed, something blue.
Yeah.
And you got
Hey,
the blue
a
shirt.
legend in the legend, you know?
Well,
Get rid of your neck.
Yes, sir.
Ford Motor Company.
my family won't believe this one.
Why?
Because I told...
Did you ever drive in the real at the race?
No.
You've never been for a ride in the GT40?
So you're going to make a lap with him in the car?
Yeah.
Can we follow you then?
Yeah,
Okay.
no.
So we'll follow them again.
Okay.
It's your car now. If it catches fire in your possession.
I didn't scratch the paint either. What a thrill. What a thrill.
Hey, it is nice, huh?
Oh, come on with it.
Okay, you ready?
Hey, how
Hey.
was it?
People would pay big money for that ride, I'll tell you. That's neat. That is neat. I never thought. I always worked on that.
Well, Mose, Adam, and Vince got a ride around the track. And then it was my turn. So come along with us as AJ takes it and puts it up into fourth gear.
shifts it into fourth. Well, we're not doing 200 miles an hour, but we're moving along at a pretty good clip. As we round turn 4, what a sight. I'm in a GT40 headed for the finish line at Indianapolis. Wow.
You better put taller than this. It's getting a bit antsy.
Really?
When we stop, get out and I won't shut it off.
Okay. Then it was Todd Lasse's turn from Motor Trend magazine. Hold it down. Well, then in the afternoon, we moved the car up to the north end of the track, onto the old Formula One track S's and the road course. This time, Wesley Allison will be standing either on the inside or outside of some of the turns, getting shots of the car in motion. And this time, Todd Lasso will be driving.
Do you want to put the seatbelt on?
Yeah.
Flip the lock.
Oh, that would help.
Yeah, you're right.
There we go.
That one. 2.5 belts from the right era.
All right.
Okay, now master switch. Turn it on. Okay. Fuel pump's on. Ignition's on. Wait till the pump.
Okay.
Now give it a couple of pumps. I think the throttle.
Throttle. Okay.
And the starter's just pulled this down.
Okay.
There you go.
You just want to, you don't want it to get up 180, 180 is the other stuff.
180, yep. Okay.
said he's got it down.
Good. It was inching up to 170, but
That's all right.
pretty slowly.
Oh, no,
so
all right, that's good.
just so you know.
Yeah.
So honey, it runs well. What a beaut. What a what a thrill. I can't tell you what kind of thrill this is. I was 7 or 8 years old when one of these cars won Le Mans.
Yeah.
And now I get to drive one. I mean, thank God. Yeah, finally. Exactly. I left it in neutral, is that all right?
Todd takes some last minute notes of his drive in the car as we look at the car again. I still can't believe that we got the chance to work on such a rare car as this, and then to see it on the track at Indianapolis. And now AJ and Hans will drive the car back to its rightful place in the museum. Well, about 2 weeks later, I come back down to the museum to see the car once again. I understand they've put it up on the main floor.
Well, here's 1032 now in its prominent place back in the museum. And it's been a long haul from the time Jim and I first came and picked the car up to actually having it done, delivered back to the museum. We had a photo shoot a couple weeks ago with Motor Trend magazine, and now it's set right here in the main hall at the Hall of Fame Museum. When Jim and I, Mose, and Adam first took on this volunteer task, and later on as we got going we had other volunteers enter into this deal. I think the museum is very pleased on the way what we did, and the car just came out beautiful right down to the nth degree here of how it actually raced at Le Mans. Okay, now it has to be said this whole project wouldn't have been possible without Bill Spurley being involved and trusting in us to do this job, to let the car to come up to Michigan and for us to work on this Mark Donahue car like this. Very valuable car, but I think he realized too the job that we would do as he got to know us, and the fact that this was going to be in the museum for a long time. I feel very honored that the car is in a prominent space up here in the museum, and but Spurley was the one that had the foresight to say, you know, this can be done. It was basically done on a handshake, and brought the car back, and I think he's very pleased with it, and maybe we might get him to come over here and say a couple words about it. But let me just take you around the car a little bit. The car is very unique. 1960-61 taillights from a Corvair, which is unique. Another unique, this is the Mark Donahue car that Mark had done, was these exhaust tips lengthened a couple inches and turned up, which no other car has. The outer lights here, these lights here that show the number, the rondelle lights and the color deals are from like a a Ranchero, an old 68 or 69, I think, Ranchero license plate deal, kind of unique. This was a Holman and Moody car, Hellbrand wheels, and it had the Firestone Gold Line tires. At the time, these were the only ones that Firestone had that could sustain 200 miles an hour. Okay, there's a couple other things that was unique about this car. Mark Donahue had these sunshades installed in his car, plus a little steering button cushion on the steering wheel that was unique. The wiper blades on this thing and the motor are from a Boeing 707 that was taken at the time. It's cable-driven wiper motor deal. These are kind of unique. These were taken at first thought from a 275 GTB Ferrari, and now, although they were used on the trunk, these are all actually Alpha Giulietta trunk hinges that they used. Marshall headlights, the French headlights that he used. Now, Le Mans had some weird rules. They had to have a spare tire. Under here is a spare tire. Has luggage space in the back, 2 compartments back there. Has a horn, has turn signals. Now, the fuel, they had just a fuel for this side for Le Mans. There's a spot over there they could hook up over there, and originally this would have carried about 42 gallons of fuel with a 4-inch crossover. And then, like I say, all the cars in 66, the Mark IIs, were all done in 66 Mustang colors. And this is Ember Glow, happened to be the one they used. And then they went out and bought this rattle can fluorescent paint and painted on the front of the cars so they could identify them coming down the straightaway or going by either at night or something. This one just happened to get the day glow green on it. And like you say, this is the number it ran at Le Mans. This car also ran at Sebring, got second place as number 3, but it was in the white and black livery then and stuff. Unique about the car, like I say, a 427 detuned NASCAR engine, about 485 horsepower, and had special brakes on it. Cooling coming in from here for the front brakes. Then in the back, they call these brake snorkel air intakes for the back. Another special scoop in the back here that'll help cool where the exhaust system had a special spaghetti exhaust system back in there. And here's the man himself, Bill Spurley, who initially got us this project going, and a good friend of mine. And Bill had, like say, the trust in us to do this job for him. And we were just honored to be able to do this and to have this in the museum. And so what do you think of it, Bill?
Beautiful job.
But you saw the car out on the track, didn't you, when Motor Trend?
Yes.
And it looked pretty?
Beautiful.
Yeah. Well, I think it's going to be here for a long time for a lot of people to enjoy, huh?
Yes.
Okay.
It
well,
looks all original.
I want to say for the guys and myself, thank you very much for letting us do this job. And this is something we'll remember for the rest of our lives.
It was very nice for you guys to do this.
Well, Bill here is the head of restoration department here at the Speedway Museum. And
that's Paul Osborne, the crony out of this.
And so we'll say goodbye for now to Chassis 1032, the Hall of Fame Museum, and to the Spurley Project. Take care.